Hello, this is a prepaid collect call from an inmate at the county jail. This call is subject to recording and monitoring. To accept charges, press 1. To refuse charges, press 2. Thank you for using Securus. You may start the conversation now.
I don't consent to recording this call. Sorry about that. I wrote the number down, but I didn't have
No problem. You get in a habit. I understand.
Alrighty. Anything else?
Well, I got prisoners that are being talked about, and they're getting some attention. And what they do when that happens is they move them to a special prison in Terre Haute, Indiana, where they try to control their communication. So whenever we do become effective at raising the publicity of a prisoner, they move the prisoner to a prison where I'm banned. I can't communicate with anybody at those prisons, and they call it a communications management unit in order to control their communications. So we're definitely at war, and you're a prisoner of war, and you already know that already.
Yeah, I would think that somebody should be able to talk to some congressman or talk. Trump is the executive. He's over the Bureau of Prisons. He alone can shut it down. He alone can stop it. He alone can do away with the FBI or any one of these other created alphabet soup companies that work for the United States corporation.
Yeah. I think any congressman that we had that would have been bold enough and courageous enough to take action, one of them was Steve Stockman. They targeted him, and he's now in a Texas prison for 10 years. It's very similar to what they did to Dinesh D'Souza. And, the deep state really is at war, and I hope that Trump...
Well, that was Obama targeting Dinesh D'Souza over his movie. What about Ted Stevens? Didn't Ted Stevens, if I'm not mistaken, die in an airplane crash?
Yeah, he died in an airplane crash, and you're right, it was the Obama administration, but...
Wasn't it the FBI is the FBI not being suspected of sabotaging that plane?
Oh, everybody suspects them, and everybody talks about it,
okay,
but, yeah.
Right, so when I'm on the video, I just got a copy of this U.S. Attorney's brief, and he's saying how I'm talking in code, how I'm talking about that plane needs to get moved immediately. Well, my concern is that the FBI, and I clearly said it in the phone call, but he didn't mention that in his brief. See, that's the thing. He lies through obfuscation or not saying the whole truth. My phone calls, I clearly said, I want that plane moved because I don't trust the FBI.
Yeah. I certainly don't trust the FBI.
No, and it's like when they say, well, he's talking in code. He's trying to get the plane moved, and he said, well, the FBI had found Mr. Parsons, so that was their objective. So they had no reason to look for a plane or even be concerned about a plane. Well, guess what? After they arrested me, they continued searching buildings. After they arrested me, they got the sheriff to go get the key to hangar in the south side hangar. Why would they, if they've already found me, why would they keep doing it? They're looking for the AR-15 because that's what they were told would be found with me. Tipton County said he's armed with an AR-15. Why would they believe that? Unless they wanted me to be shot and killed during some kind of a confrontation. I'm sitting in an airport with a cup of coffee. They took the building, after they found me, after they done what they were told, locate me, they found me, they took the building apart. Why? And why did the sheriff ask me, Mr. Parsons, where's your gun at? We just need to make sure that these children don't, stumble across it. We need to know where your car is so we can find it. We don't want the children to stumble across it. I never spoke to the sheriff, though he's quoted to have said I told him I was taking the plane and contents of the plane for registration. The Chilcoot Nation doesn't register airplanes. It's one of the few things about the Chilcoot Nation that's really a good thing. You don't have to register a damn thing with the government. It's called freedom.
Yeah.
Maybe people might want to try to revisit that sometime.
Yeah. There was something I was going to share. I was going to make the point that presidents come and go, but the deep state, DOJ, and FBI continues beyond administration after administration, and they're the ones that have declared war on freedom and war on the American people.
any president can shut that operation down. They're not even constitutional. No one in the Constitution doesn't provide for an FBI or a Department of Justice.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Constitution, show me where it says it. It's not. It's not there. They could be done away with immediately. If you read the Constitution, the only power that the Supreme Court's supposed to have, the federal jurisdiction for the federal side, is for admiralty cases involving acts of crime at the high sea level, like piracy. Okay, well, last thing I noticed, I wasn't on a ship out at sea, nor was the U.S. District Court afloat. So, I don't know. I got a letter today from you, which is basically your Gideon's Army weekly information. Is that all that was sent in it? Because they ripped the envelope apart like the really man trying to tear the thing open.
I usually send more than that. That's just usually added on with whatever else. I'm surprised that's the only thing in there. Yeah.
That's the only thing in there.
Wow.
That's it. So I thought that was odd because you normally have other stuff. Now, I did get like 5 or 6 letters on Monday from you that had multiples of stuff, but that's, I got those. And I got a letter from Mom and a birthday card.
When's your birthday? Oh, no, don't tell me. Don't tell me. I don't want the world to know. Never mind. But happy birthday, whenever it was.
Well, it hadn't been yet. It's upcoming. But anyway, it's, another. I haven't had the ability of being in and out of jail and prison to have a birthday to where I've been out of jail since 2014.
Crazy, man. Just FYI, there's a guy down here, and I'm not going to mention his name, but he also had a false felony conviction. I forget the details, but it was completely false, and he was on the border trying to defend the Texas border, and they arrested him for felon in possession. He makes the case that felon was never intended to be a lifelong label that stuck with you, that once you served your time for whatever crime you supposedly committed and got out, that label was supposed to be removed. He refuses to live Anyway, just quickly, he refuses to live under this felon label that they've labeled him with. He's been an upstanding member of society his whole life, just like you. He's gone basically underground and off the grid, and he says he will not live under the tyranny of the feds, and he's basically making a statement, I'm not going back to jail, and you can take that for whatever it's intended to mean. But it was a pretty dramatic video he made, and they say it'll be his last video because now he might be... He might be, I don't know, on the run or off the grid or however you want to word it.
Yeah, well, that's probably the wise thing to do. See, the thing is that the 1968 Gun Act only had to do, if you read the whole bill, it only had to do with shipping, which is buying and selling.
Commerce, yeah. He said the same thing. The commerce argument that you're giving right now, he said the same thing in his video.
Yeah, that's all it's about. And it has nothing to do with being a once-and-done proposition. That's the warped, twisted mind of a professional liar they call attorney, who've taken something that was meant for large shipments of cheap guns imported from foreign countries into this country, into Chicago and stuff. That's what it says in there. It says, it even says throughout the thing, does not apply to rifles and shotguns, does not apply to rifles, does not apply, repeatedly. And in my case, I had to, and they never mentioned it anywhere, Shinzi, all these people, they never brought up, there's no commerce here. He's not buying and selling anything. He's not a commercial plane, train, cargo ship, or truck. He's not involved in commerce. Your own personal property, and the fact is, I didn't have any personal property that was a gun with me, but even if I had, there would not have been a crime committed.
Let me share. Yeah. No, I'm totally with you on that. I agree with you. Let me share this piece of news update as well. There was a militiaman, and he went to the border at Texas, and he was helping arrest illegals that were crossing the border illegally, and they arrested the militiaman, and they beat him in prison. Do you know the details, Aaron? Anything? Is that pretty much
That's all I know.
Yeah. Anyway, rather than try to, support him, they arrested him, and now he's been beaten and put in prison. It's just crazy.
Right. If you could send me, or if anybody, not you, I know you're too busy, if somebody could send me some information about the FBI planting DNA and or their labs. I remember reading about their crime lab getting caught for running false DNA analysis where they basically frame people.
Have you ever heard of Dr. Frederick Whitehurst? Dr. Frederick Whitehurst, does that ring a bell? He was a big FBI forensic laboratory whistleblower. He came out in the Timothy McVeigh case. He said exactly what you're saying. It was a big national scandal. He was a big person in the FBI forensic laboratory. He had a big title, right? He was very well up in the ranks. And he came out and blew the whistle that the FBI plants DNA, they plant evidence, they do things to favor the prosecution. I'll try to send you some information on that, but it's Dr. Frederick Whitehurst. He's a big nationally recognized guy.
Right. I'm just reading. The thing is that there was a motion for acquittal that Shinji argued in the brief, but then he says at the very end, and we want a new trial. Well, wait a minute. An acquittal is a not guilty. An acquittal is a dismissal. An acquittal is a reversal, and you go home. Well, a new trial is you just get another shot at it, where Shinji gets to make sure he covers up the things that they didn't cover up before. So. And I sent a letter to the 8th Circuit Court. I don't know if they got it, but it's like everything around here. It's all controlled. It's a rigged game, and with no help from the legal community, they basically control everything. They made themselves gods, unfortunately, and that's a sad state that they will continue to get away with these crimes. And once you're locked up, when you don't have access to a pen or paper, I was finally able to get in there and get access to a pen last night, first time in 2 weeks. Okay, I haven't had access to go in there and get access to my legal material for 2 weeks. And you're up all day because they bang in doors all day long, and then you're up all night. You eventually run out of energy, and especially being starved, you have no fuel.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I completely understand. I pray to God that he gets you out of there, Miss Parsons, soon. Let me share this quick story. There's a black guy in Hawaii, a federal prison. He has not been convicted of any crime. He's being held pre-trial. He started communicating with me, and he wrote a letter, not to me, but to his friend, and they started trashing all his communications, very similar to what they're doing with you. And in the email to his friend, he has access to Corelink's email, which is a prison email system in the federal system. He said, when I get out of here, I'm going to find out who's trashing my correspondence, and I'm going to send them to the poorhouse. In other words, he's going to sue them, right? He's going to sue them because that's a federal crime that they're doing. They took that as a threat of bodily harm against the staff, and they threw him in the hole, and he's lost all his phone and visitation privileges because, they're really throwing the book at anybody who stands up against the establishment.
There's case after case. If you sue a judge or anybody that's involved in the court, the district attorney, or any of these attorneys at all, their brethren are going to dismiss the charges, number one. So you're not going to get a judgment. I don't know of anybody that's ever sued a judge and got him taken off the bench or gotten a penny. Nobody.
Yeah. So
you're not going to win, and they're going to come after you and either put you in prison or steal everything you've got. It's a rigged game.
Yeah.
And, I'm sitting here as an ambassador of a sovereign nation that's been recognized by this country, even though not by name. And I did get your printout of those maps, and one of those maps actually is a good.
Did you get the color or the black and white, or both?
The black and white.
Oh, they won't let the color go through. Okay.
No, but I mean, some of those were like. You had the same map on there 3 different times. I don't know if you.
Whatever was sent from up north is what you got. I didn't evaluate them or study them.
Oh, okay. You didn't put it together. It was like that. Okay.
It was collated. Yeah. I mean, I had to collate it, but I was sent files. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's like 2 pages per page kind of thing. So, but anyway, I appreciate it.
No. On the maps, it should not have been 2 pages per page. On the maps, it should have been front and back.
You printed printed front and back, but there's 2 pages per page. There's 2 maps on each front. There's 2
Oh,
maps.
yeah. Oh, what? So you're saying there's 4 maps per physical page, 2 on the front and 2 on the back?
Yeah.
Oh, that's not what I asked them to do. That must have been a carryover from a previous letter. I'm sorry they did that. Yes.
It came from you.
It came from me. It didn't come from Florida?
Yeah. No, I've got nothing from Florida.
Ah.
It's black and white.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just want to say I appreciate it, and I actually found one of these maps that is these old maps, they show water. Okay, here's the ocean. Here's what is, North America. This is where, France would be, and, certain countries had claims to certain areas at that time. And this is all historical data that shows Chilcote's Nation's been there all along. And people just don't know it because they don't do homework. They don't do research. They don't remember the history lessons. And because in their eyes, American history started when the white man got off a ship and pissed on Plymouth Rock. I'm sorry. American history has been going on for a long, long time with Native Americans who have been here all along. And that's American history that is never taught anymore, unfortunately. But it's there. The United States recognized it from the Jay Treaty and then so forth. And I'm hopeful that if somebody could reach Trump's ear or the Department of Justice people within it, unless they've been leveraged, then that would be the way to affect my release, because I've been railroaded. My wife's been railroaded. I'm shot at, my wife's shot at, my dog shot and killed right in front of me. My dog shot in the back and she's running towards me. She falls at my feet and I grab her and I hold her in my arms. And she dies in my arms. And I'm looking at my child effectively. I don't have any children. I've got animals. And so, I'm attacked because I'm suing to void a rigged election. And the perpetrator that shot and killed my baby is still out there. He never served a day in jail, never was charged, was allowed to sit there and lie on the stand. I've got an audio, where I confronted the guy. I just happened to have my audio recorder around my neck because I'm a home inspector inspecting buildings, and I can't ride up underneath buildings a lot of times or wherever the places you're at. I turned it on when I had the ability to. I couldn't call 911 because the cell phone didn't work everywhere. And in that location, it's a dead spot. Throughout the farm, there's dead spots. There's low spots where that farm is. I tried to call, but couldn't. Tried to call my wife. Thought I left her a message. But you can hear on the audio recording me saying multiple times, stop, stay back, don't come any closer. Well, if I'm trying to get on top of somebody, I'm not going to be telling them to stay back. I'm telling them to drop their gun, put their gun. I'm doing what I was trained to do when I, got my weapons permit and other training with the Sheriff's Department. I spent a lot of time and effort and money on getting properly trained, knew the law, self-defense, defense of others. I have the right to use deadly force. Even though Shinzi's been told to lie and he's too lazy to do any research, if you look up the Tennessee Code annotated, stand your ground law, you have the right to use deadly force. If somebody's threatening your life or somebody else's life, you can use deadly force. They were armed. They shot at me. There was no innocent victim. The so-called innocent one was the shot caller. He's the guy instructing the other guy to do the shooting. He's not innocent. He's equally culpable. He's sitting there armed with a pistol in one hand and a cell phone in the other. So, no, he's not innocent. These are crooks. These are criminals. These are thugs that killed my child, my pet, Brandy. And they've never had their day in court. They've never been prosecuted. And King's still out there. I mean, I don't know his situation, but I know that he lied in trial. Of course, the jurors were all handpicked. They were the employees of the county, which the county executive I was suing at the time, still at that time, would tell them quickly, you either convict or I'm going to make sure you find another job. And, of course, the arresting officer's mother-in-law had a $10 million lawsuit against him. She's sitting front center. And my first question to the jury before I So anybody related to the arresting officer, she knew I had a lawsuit against her son-in-law, who was the arresting officer. She knew that. That's why I had the lawsuit against him. He falsely charged me, falsely arrested me at the order of a judge who wasn't even there, and he knew that we were the victims. He didn't care. He's just doing his job. He's doing what he's told. Well, I'm sorry. That's not the job. If we, the people, are paying the bill, we need to have peacekeepers and peace officers. We don't need law enforcers or, people that are the goon squad for the executive branch and or the judiciary of any county. That's tyranny. I don't accept it. We can do better.
Amen. Amen. I'm concerned it's becoming normalized that the government can throw innocent people in prison whenever they want to, and it's becoming normalized that we should even submit that it's a bad thing to resist the fact when they want to throw you in prison or even kill you or torture you. We've got prisoners that have been murdered, beheaded in prison. We've got prisoners that have been tortured, and nobody seems to give a damn because they don't think it's going to happen to them, but it's just a matter of time.
Well, I used to have a radio talk show. I used to be a manager at Federal Express. I used to be a bunch of different things that I did in my life that have been curtailed because of corrupt government. The building of my home. My wife and I had, planned and started building our dream home, and that's all I was doing until I was attacked. We were shot at. My wife was shot at. The night that we moved out there, she is standing there, walking with Shadow, my alpha female, and the guy just starts shooting and kills my alpha female and then steals her. We never got her back. I sued the guy because I couldn't get him arrested. He's one of the good old boys. And the judge dismisses the case. I go to the appellate court. I point out to them, hey, the judge is rigging the hearings. He's taking my evidence out of the record. Order him to restore it. And they said, okay, restore the record. And the judge said, piss on you. So this low-level circuit court judge told the appellate court, piss on you, and they did nothing about it. That's what we're living under is the height of tyranny. Who is this guy that he can tell a appellate court to go take a hike? Obviously, he's got some kind of connections somewhere, but therein lies the problem. It's a rigged game, and there's no accountability. And if Trump would shut down the FBI, call an investigation, do a forensic analysis, the fact that the guy that sat there and accused me, the Zapolsky guy, Montiar Zapolsky, it's a great football name. I could say the Green Bay Packers, and it come as Zapolsky as
right.
But anyway, the guy lies. Okay, he says that first on his arrest warrant, or this search warrant for the plane, is that we need to search the plane because Mr. Parsons is suspected of being involved in a kidnapping plot. Well, then they later say after trial, well, no, he was never suspected because there was no proof that he didn't know anything about the arrest warrants or anything. They're arrest warrants. They're legitimate. Didn't they just arrest Julian Assange? Wasn't there an international arrest warrant from the United States that Great Britain exercised and arrested for it? I think they did. So nobody can tell me that one country can't have somebody else arrested in another country. That's wrong. When the Chilco Nation put out arrest warrants, they contacted law enforcement. They said, get a private bounty hunter. The private bounty hunter apparently turned out to be a flake. Contacted the FBI and they said, oh, great, we've got a sovereign citizen, extremist, whatever. It's a sovereign country. It's not a sovereign citizen anything. It's a Native American nation. It's like France. It's like any other country. So this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with total tyranny and corruption. And Donald Trump has the authority right now to do an investigation, order an investigation, if there's any credible departments out there that can step in, they could do something right now to stop this guy. He not only lied about the search warrant, but he lied throughout the entire thing. He lied saying that I had a laptop computer in the jail cell with me and that I was getting on the internet and that I somehow either destroyed or flushed a thumb drive. No, I never had a laptop in my cell. I'm in a multi-purpose room with an officer sitting right there. I never touched the computer other than the volume button. That was it. They're sitting there watching me the whole time. So this guy just makes this stuff, and he didn't have a letter from anybody. I read all the letters. The guy that's in charge of the jail never said that I had a computer in my cell. But that's what they put in the court record. They put these lies in the court record, and that's what people believe. Well, what can you do when you're locked up? And I'm sleeping on a concrete floor in this jail for months, being starved, sleeping on concrete. I'm 56 years old, or 55 at the time. And I deserve better. I haven't hurt anybody, but I'm being treated like hell. I haven't seen the sunlight. I haven't been outside in the sun in over a year. I don't get out. I'm in a room 23-1. For the last 27 months, I've been locked up all but, I think, 3 months. I was in the God mud when I was in Oklahoma, or Oregon. Starts with an O, Omaha. You know, this is what...
What's a God mod for what's that mean? God mod.
It's for guys that are trying to walk the straight line and learn about Scripture and those that
Oh, okay.
Ministry.
Got it.
So I was brought in. Day one, they wanted me to be one of their head guys running it because I had, common sense and I could teach ministry. So I said, no, I don't. I'll help, but I don't want a title because with a title you become a target.
Yeah.
So anyway, but this is what we're dealing with, and Monty Orzlopluski lied to get a warrant to search the plane 3.5 months after they had already searched it. I know they searched it because I've got a handwritten notation that says he's arrested at 9:20. Then at 10:20 it says, okay, they're searching the buildings, they're searching the airport, they're searching the airplane, they're searching his belongings. Why are they still searching? If the object is for me to be arrested, the search is over. You got him. Well, no, they're looking for an AR-15 because that's what they were told to look for. The whole thing is a sham. And here's the other thing. This guy's allowed to take the stand and testify as a truth teller, and this court-appointed nothing, who did nothing, who had no preparation at all. I'm sitting here ready to go. I've got all my notes in order, but they denied me this Admiralty Court operation. They will not admit it's Admiralty, but it's Admiralty Equity Court that they're operating. The law of the sea. He's a law unto himself. He makes up the rules as he goes. You don't get to run your own case, Mr. Parsons, because I said so. I've got this guy over here. I said, but he's never done anything for me. He will not do any research. He should have gotten all of my witnesses here. I have no witnesses. And Monty Orzlopluski was allowed to lie and lie and lie and sit there and keep lying, and he would never. I had to do all the objecting, and he never would ask him the questions that would prove that he lied. He's sitting there with a videotape showing the airport president standing on the wing of the plane with the door open. Monty Orzlopluski just said earlier the plane had never been in and tampered with. No, it had only been gone into every day and moved out of the hangar multiple times. And even later, after the conviction in their PSR report, do they admit, oh yeah, the FBI actually went in the plane before it was searched. It's in the PSR report that the FBI's undercover employee went into the plane prior to the search a week early.
You have 1 minute left.
What was he doing in there? And can anybody find out whatever happened to Jeff Olson, the chief deputy of Furnace County? I understand from one of the inmates at Omaha that he got fired for planting evidence. Wonder if it was planting evidence in my plane that maybe somebody stumbled across that he admitted, and that's why he got fired for running his mouth. Who knows? Maybe if somebody can do some research to find out where he's at, find out why he got fired. This is why Michael Green got fired, the guy that arrested me for having guns in Tennessee. I didn't have guns. I wasn't even at the farm. They're locked up in Pat's house. They're her guns. She bought them. That's legal. I'm doing everything by the book. But here I said, my life's destroyed. Why? Because I exposed a rigged election in Tipton County, Tennessee, and then a rigged court. Welcome to hell, my friends. Best keep your mouth shut, or you'll be here with me.